Listen and subscribe to The Table of Truth on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and Google Podcasts. Welcome, everybody. This is your man Cam. We're back with another edition of Blerdlines. Today, we are going to review The Harder They Fall, the latest Black People as Cowboys movie that's coming out there, spaghetti westerns. With me, as always, is...
I am Josh, a.k.a. the Kwisatz Haderach.
As well as...
And I'm D, the professor. I'm going to be laying some knowledge down as always.
And yeah, man, The Harder They Fall came out, last week? 2 weeks ago? Something like that. I want to say 2 weeks.
Last week, I think.
I think it was last week, but let's see for sure.
Yeah, streaming, and it did like a limited release, probably so they can get some Oscar nods or whatnot, I'm assuming. Mm-hmm. That was their whole situation. But yeah, man, fellas, how did you enjoy Django Part 2?
Well, wait, before we go into it, I just want to make sure we got this right. So it was released October 22nd.
Okay. Wow.
Okay. U.S. theaters. And I believe customary to Netflix, it got the limited theater run, and then it debuted streaming on November 3rd. So that's why it seems more recent in our mind, like it was recently released, because it just went up on Netflix.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because they did the limited release, so they can get, the nods and whatnots. And then,
yeah.
All right. So directed by, how do you say his name? James?
I think it's James.
James Samuel, who I just found out is British.
Oh,
damn it! Once again, another one.
Yet another one.
Yeah, no, definitely. Directed by James Samuel. And it was, it was a tried and true spaghetti western, and I know that we all here enjoy spaghetti westerns. We're as I was watching it, I did things of like Hateful Eight and Django nods and a couple other smaller stuff like that. But yeah, it was pretty good. I was like, yeah, this is not bad.
It was excellent. I thought it was well directed, well acted. It landed right where it needed to land in terms of it lands in the middle of a bunch of classic Western films. And then black film on top of that as a whole, just on its own, stands on its own as a great black film.
Yeah, no, definitely. They did a good job. I mean, it was it reminded me of Posse. It had like good feel, like the cast top to bottom was like really, really good. And plus you can tell everyone in the cast, like, they're like, yeah, this is why.
Yeah, they brought their A game for sure. Yeah, they definitely brought their A game. And I love that Jonathan Majors is continuing to show how capable he is. Like, he's a great actor. I enjoy everything that he's been in so far, but being able to sort of to hold his own with a bunch of heavyweights like a Regina King and an Idris Elba.
Yeah,
you saying something, being able to throw punches with that group.
And not just that, he's the lead. So, you're basically carrying the film. And on the other side, you have Idris Elba as the main antagonist, and you have Regina King basically as a secondary antagonist. So that's like a really, you got to bring gravitas to make that work. And it's such the narrative, without giving anything away, between the two of those characters is so synergetic. It's so like, two forces meeting each other that you really need the two actors to kind of balance each other out. And I think that's what he did. He showed a lot in that film, going from being ruthless outlaw to sort of a vulnerable guy who's still traumatized and scarred by this one of the most horrific events a child can experience. And he did that extremely well right up into the final confrontations, which I know, we spoke, Josh, probably prior to this, about whether or not that worked. And You know, I did think it worked just for the simple theme of vengeance and how strong that was, and how vengeance itself is never satisfying, and not only is it not satisfying, but often you creating monsters along the way with your quest for revenge, which, I don't think it was a coincidence that quite often characters who were just before they were about to be killed, and this is a Western trope, but it was heavy in this film. They will say, "Oh, I got family," or "I got this." Even if you knew they were, even his first guy with the scorpion on his hand, we saw what he did, and the first thing he says is, I'm sorry, I have a family, and but that's not good enough. Here's the angel of death, the hand of vengeance. But again, does that create more angels of death and hands of vengeance for the future? So it played with those themes in addition to being a great spaghetti western. And just real quick, one thing, James Samuel is also Seal's brother.
Oh, really?
Very interesting. Yes, he's Seal's brother. He's a musician. This was his first film. First,
I didn't know that.
Big major. He's probably done some shorts and stuff, but this was like his first big production, studio production.
Okay. Nice. Props. Yeah, they did. And even shout out to the producers and the casters too, because casting top to bottom was freaking really good. Even all the cameo cameos from random comedians and stuff that was what are you doing in here?
That was great.
On.
Plus, also got to give it up to Dion Cole, because he did a really I didn't even recognize him.
He did an excellent job. Fantastic job. Really showed that what he's capable of, and beyond being a funny man in Hollywood. And
he was good. He was good. He was actually a really pleasant surprise. But yeah, I think it was I liked going back to the casting, Lakeith Stanfield, we all know he's dope. Everyone knows he's dope. And then he kind of goes on the screen. He's like, well, I'm only here for a little bit, so let me steal every scene that I'm in really quick. And I'm a ninja vanish real quick. And then you just remember, oh, damn, you're good.
Yeah. It's as the director and writer or the filmmakers, you have to, and the days you got him in those scenes, it's like he's becoming easily one of those actors where you got to be looking forward to the day that he's on set and he's about to do his thing. I mean, the guy he just has it. That's why, like you said, Cam, with the cast, it's so great to see those particulars brought together, because if you notice, most of those main actors are TV vets, or actors who are not known for having the leads all the time, but when they do, they just and Idris can do anything. That guy can do big budget blockbuster to
Black Superman.
Yeah,
he is. He really is. And what's so great about him is that when he's in those roles, he's convincing, man. He made Rufus Buck a great villain. That was a great Western villain. Yeah. Someone who holds the reputation of almost being supernatural, but obviously is a man.
Yeah.
But also someone who, and then I think it's so different and nuanced, because you rarely see those kinds of depicted Black Western villains without there being some kind of string attached, I
think also
here,
well said.
Powers are limited in this arena, or now he's about to meet his match because he's come up against a group of, screaming Klansmen, and there's no way out.
I think I like that. I like that there was the one time that a white character was going to do the obligatory, look here, nigger, They even played with that small trope and then cut it real quick.
And he doesn't get to say it. I love that.
Yeah. And that was good though.
To the story.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
No, exactly. And then even when
they play off of each other, Stanfield and King, he's like, oh, he could have been saying nincompoop. She's like, well, I don't like no word they start with it.
But they did such a great job because, like, I think the villains are just the quote unquote villains are just as equally have depth than as the protagonist, and as well too. Again, this is one of those movies. Move the ball just a little bit to the left, and then Idris Elba could have been the protagonist of the show,
right?
On a redemption thing, like I used to be a bastard, now I'm trying to do something good with my life. And so I saw memes later on, and people were like, "Who's the real villain? Is it Rufus Buck or is it Nat Love?" Because Rufus Buck, his whole thing was, I want to buy this town, have it as a black town, blah 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 blah. Again, all positive things. Sucks he's a bastard, but but that's the whole point. Flawed men trying to do good things at the end of after.
And I thought the Napoleon reference was great to throw in. And again, that's why I said it's whether that was a part of the script or if that was something that Idris brought to the character, adding that layer of showing that not only is this a ruthless bastard, this guy is pretty well read, because he would have had to have read that about Napoleon, because there weren't any video of Napoleon giving any speech or anything like that. That would have been something that he read in a book about Napoleon or something on Napoleon. So there were all these nuances that really just kept the story just going. Even though it's 2 hours long, there was never a moment where I looked at my watch or like hit pause and see where it was on the timeline. It was very captivating. It changed and twists where it needed to be. Even the things where you're like, oh, it's so obvious what's about to happen, and there's a kind of a little bit of a twist. It's like, oh, just when you thought you kind of had a handle on the genre tropes, we're going to play with it a little bit.
Yeah.
More.
And I think that they had a lot of fun with that aspect of it. Cause again, this is a spaghetti Western. So there's certain tropes that kind of almost have to be in there as part of the spaghetti Western briefcase. Yeah. But they had a lot of good time just like twisting some of those. And then also too, we talked about the fellas. We all talk about the ladies as well. All of them, same thing, scene stealers as well. Like, Zazie Beetz was killing it. Regina King killed it. Like, and each character you felt all had like depth and like, you didn't think they weren't there just to be there. Like Zazie Beetz wasn't there just to be like the hot chick, right? Or like the damsel in distress. Like that wasn't her.
Yeah, every character went somewhere.
Had purpose. And I even liked, speaking of Zazie and the damsel in distress, again, playing with those tropes. I like that. Again, she didn't get his permission to go. She went on her own.
Yeah.
When she knew what she was going into, and she knew what the consequences were, and she had accepted that, as she explains to Trudy in that great scene between two Black women, and on opposite sides of the fence. And one of the visual great things that they show or nuances about her performance was when they have Nat tied up and they're beating him, and then Rufus comes in and gives him the ultimatum. And they're mocking him about the damsel in distress and all that stuff. The entire time she's like not crying, not like shivering, like her face is like stone, like he walks out and she follows him with her eyes looking directly at him. It's like, that's how you do honor to Stagecoach Mary, but also that's such a great nuanced thing for the Western trope, because you're so used to seeing the tough cowboy having to ride up and save the weeping woman who's at the mercy of the villain. She wasn't that at all, and wouldn't allow herself to be that, even though she clearly was concerned about what they were doing to Nat, but that wasn't about to be what she was going to let them see that day. So
exactly. And it was the same thing with Regina King and all her scenes, where it's like you can tell she was like the loyal henchman, maybe something more, but maybe not. But that wasn't the point. It was just like she was loyal to to Rufus Buck, and that was it. Like they might have had a romantic something or whatever, but that wasn't the point of their relationship. The relationship
didn't need to be on screen.
Yeah, right. It was more about loyalty. It was more about I believe in what you're doing. I'm here to support you, which I thought was dope overall. And then showing her ruthlessness throughout the whole movie and her short temper or that just kind of is like, oh, she's a badass. Like, she doesn't need. She does not. I'm doing this because I want to do it, not because I need you. Like I don't need Rufus Buck, but I'm here because of loyalty and all that.
Absolutely.
Kind of stuff.
Into that idea of what he was trying to build. Like she tells him flat out, all those people out there might just be following you because you got the power, you got money, you a scary bastard. But I am following you because I believe in what you plan on building and and I believe in your philosophy of how we build it, how we get there.
Yep, that was dope. So, that was really, really dope. And even even with Cuffy too, where she proves herself, like in her first introduction, she automatically proves herself, and that even Nat Love is like, okay, but it was good because exactly. And I like that automatically just from jump, you know who she is, what she's about, and that she had not taken no shit. And then you see her progress over during the movie, and then not even give it away, but there's a part where she actually has to wear a dress, and then you see Jim Buck with like, oh shit, oh okay.
And that actress is, and I don't know her name. Actually,
come on, D'Angelo, gotta be on this.
I know. Cuffy.
Her name is Danielle Deadweiler.
Yeah.
But while you're Googling, I think the thing the fact that every character, male or female, had backstory, and you didn't need a ton, but you got just enough to make the character have each character have a little depth. You get sort of pulled into the character, and there's a certain amount of, like I said, there's a certain amount of depth. Like you put it perfectly. There's a certain amount of depth to each character, and the fact that you didn't need it's really just the one line of dialogue. Like, as D'Angelo and I constantly say, it wasn't really much more than like a line here, a line there about something they did in the past, or the connection to Rufus, or the connection to Nat, or their connection to each other. It really didn't take much. Mm-hmm. It really didn't take much at all.
And what I was going to say about Danielle Deadweiler is that she is a really talented actress, and really, really did a good job with Cuffy. But she was also in Watchmen, if I'm not mistaken.
Was she?
I thought she was in. Yeah, she played June. She played Regina. She played the grandmother, the wife of Will Reeves.
Oh, okay, word.
Yeah. So I knew I recognized. I was like, wow, I recognize her because she has a very strong presence in her scenes.
Yeah, definitely.
And so I looked it up, and she was Will Reeves' wife, which would have made her the Regina King character's grandmother. She's
that's right, because everything.
Tried to pick her
I remember that. Yeah.
Is this the multiverse?
I guess so. There's the connection between Jonathan and Major. What's HBO and Netflix doing? They're having their own little private crossover now.
Keep your third eye open, fellas. Keep your third eye open.
Wow.
Just saying. She was awesome, dude. And it was cool because I think, it was dope to see that like she was kind of Mary's like right hand for like a lot of the stuff that she was doing. And even when there's a good moment where like both her and Mary kiss full on the lips, and that love was like, whoa, what? And she's like, what are you?
She's like, don't make it a thing.
For? Yeah, exactly. So I liked a lot of those moments where, like you said, one line of dialogue helped push along a lot of things, or one scene gave more depth to that character. So then, like, everyone had a reason to be in this situation, even Jim Pickett and Bill Pickett and Jim Buckworth, and I showed how each of them, why they rode with Nate and why they were rocking with them, and shout out to the guy who played Jim Buckworth, RJ Seiler, I think it is. I had seen him in was it Me? It's like the Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl or something like that. It's like a random indie film in like 2017. And like, he was cool. He was a young kid in there, and he was like, but it was a solid like acting turn. And like, he really like, he did what he had. He did a lot with it. And so I like that everyone in there came with it, you know?
But shout out to Delroy Lindo, the God.
Oh yeah. Thank you for transitioning, because yes, we cannot not talk about the great Delroy Lindo as Bass Reeves.
Amazing.
The show. Stole it.
Yeah, he definitely had. And it was good too, because he brought a lot of the gravitas on it, but then also the still like, I'm still a lawman. Like he's like, you guys are about outlaws, but I am still a lawman.
And you know, again, that's one of the classic trope setups where you have the lawman who ends up having to team or side with the lesser of the sort of Robin Hood outlaw who, you know, he's obviously bad, but Bass Reeves, as he showed, I could have had you anytime I want to, dead or alive. I could have had you, man. Like, it's not that, it's just you're the least of the bad guys. You rob bad guys. Why would I want to put you away?
Exactly.
But
we agree, but we just don't agree on the methods.
Exactly. But he was funny, man. Like, he just had me like. I don't want to give it away, but there's just the scene where there's a exploding wagon and that result in a severed arm.
Oh yeah.
He's like, remind me again, which one is that? Which arm is that? And it's funny because of the conversation that came before. So I won't spoil that, because you have to see it, because it is just hilarious the way it comes, the joke is bookend visually, and with how the line lands from Delroy as Bass.
And I think he really brought like he brought a good feel to it, and then also I think it helped everyone else like I said, step their game up, because all the younger actors that were like, they were doing their thing as well. And so and then what's it called? The other thing, I was laughing that when I was watching it, because I had D'Angelo's voice in my head, and it's like, oh man, the score is more current music. But then as I started watching, I was like, yo, this actually works.
It worked. I can't even, you know, at first when the first one hit, I was I put my hands up, because I was like,
I knew it.
You guys know I love Westerns, and I was in it, and then that first track hit, and I was like, but the reason it worked was because the instruments had a Western feel for a lot of those songs. And then the main score, the main music that was driving the narrative was Western and bluesy sound. It was not like trying to that was the problem with Lovecraft country, because that was the last thing.
I was just going to say
that I really blasted about the anachronistic music is that every other scene there was some kind of an episode, there was some kind of current track that literally had nothing to do with the diegetic form of that story.
Yeah.
So it just doesn't. This time it worked, man, and then when it works, it feels great.
Yeah, and even when there's the battle between Mary and Trudy, and they use a Fela track, and I was kind of like,
it shouldn't have worked. It should not have worked.
Yeah, like how did
it work perfectly?
They made it work, and to the point where
there's no reason why that should work
so well. It just moved it well.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's the thing where, like, kind of like what you said, it's like I think you're right, because the score had the underlining theme of a Western, that when those things dropped in, it dropped in opportune times that actually enhanced the scene, as opposed to like in Lovecraft Country. You're right. It'd be like, you know, black woman walking down the street with all white people, and all of a sudden, like some trap music comes on. You're like, wait, what?
Exactly. It's like come on, man. It's low hanging fruit, but come on.
It's just, I think that was like it was interesting that they did that, and then it, like I said, it again, you could tell that Samuels like enjoys westerns, and you could tell that he was purposely doing the things in a western that makes it a western. And so it's like, for me, I was like, that's dope. It just again goes back to Tarantino. Like, he likes westerns. When he did his westerns, he makes sure that there's certain western things in there, so it keeps that feel. I think on the negative end, I would say I wish they would have filmed it on film. I think it would have made it. It would have gave it a better feel to it, because I think sometimes it was almost too, like, the way they color graded it, and plus it was all digital too, so it kind of felt like almost like a, I don't want to say made for TV Steez, but it didn't have the feel of a gritty western. And I think I was starting to feel that closer to the end. Like, in the beginning, it was not that bad, but closer to the end and the really good scenes, like there was a feel of it that was almost too slick. Like, I love the costuming, I loved all of that, but I think there was just a level of like grittiness that it didn't have that kind of made it feel like a little too current, you know?
Yeah, and I do think that some of the set pieces look like they had repeated it for like one town was used for another. But I agree with that about film. Like, I think they should have shot that on 35 millimeter and just foot the bill, because
100%.
It would have made it, and then a little bit more scale.
Yeah.
You know, like some more wider shots would have been better to show sort of like the ranchiness, the open lands that were largely territories or unoccupied and things like that. But that would have been like a Western epic. Because then you had to bring in like the indigenous tribes and things like that, which all of that was at play then, because they're at a point, because they pointed it out. And I thought that was interesting. They're really at the marker where, if I'm not mistaken, reconciliation is almost done. And now the U.S. Army is pretty much wrapped up its campaign against the Indians.
Yes, now that's why all the land's up for sale now.
Exactly. And now they're selling all the land because they've got all this stolen land, but you know, that's a whole nother story.
Well, and I think that was good, the part too, where it's like they put you in, you know, the time period, you kind of have a gist of what's going on, and then they keep it moving. So they don't got to say, hey, back in the Old West, black people used to have their own town. They used to do this and they used to do that, and blah 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 blah. They literally was just like, there's a bunch of black folks, there's cowboys, some are outlaws, some are not, some are altruistic, some aren't, and then they kept it moving. And so I think for that aspect of it, it actually kept it like really, really good. All right, so scaling wise, we'll do the classic. I don't know. Should we do stars, or we should do 1 out of 10?
1 out of 10.
We'll do the 1 out of 10.
Let's do 1 out of 10. All right. So give me your final blurb on The Harder They Fall, and then give me your score. We'll start with D'Angelo.
Yeah, so my final is that The Harder They Fall is, you know, I hate to say solid because it seems like it undersells it. So I would say it's an amazingly well-made, well-directed, well-written, and well-performed modern Western that has black actors and black people in it. The story isn't about being black in the Old West. It's about black people existing in the Old West. So that's what made it, to me, a brilliant, fun story. I'd watch it again. I give it 9 out of 10.
Josh?
Same here. The performances for me are what made it jump. From cameos straight on down through the main characters. Delroy the Legend obviously showed up and showed out. Zazie Beetz and Regina, Idris, they all, like, everyone from top to bottom, Jonathan Majors, everyone from top to bottom, really just lit up the screen every time they were on it. And that for me made it, like, it really, they really just carried I mean, it was a good script, so it's not like they carried what was like a softball and just, made it something more than it was. Like, it was good source material that they worked with from the beginning. Well directed, mostly well shot. I had some minor gripes, but like nothing even worth mentioning as far as like how it was shot. Audio was great. And for me, rare moment that I line up identically with D'Angelo, 9 out of 10.
And I will follow that, Cab. I thought they did a great job, like casting again. Like we're like overselling, like we just got sponsored for this, but it's like black people shit. We got to ride for it. But no, dude, it was it was really, really good. Like I had so much fun watching it. Like kind of it had the same feel of like, hey, I could watch this again and be completely fine. Like one of those like on TBS with the commercials and everything. If it came on, I'd probably sit down and watch it again. All the performances are great. I wanted to shout out Edie Gathicke, who did Bill Pickett, because he was really, really dope too as well. And man, the younger actors really stepped their game up. Delroy kind of like anchored the whole thing. And then again, as we were talking about for Jonathan Majors, like he keeps hitting them, dude. Like he just I almost want to see him fail just so I can make sure he's human, because right now he's like anything he shows up in, I'm just like, all right, you're kind of being that dude now where that consistency is doing really well. So so that's our good review for The Harder They Fall, and we'll talk to you guys later. Peace.